Hey guys, Dan here, and today we're going to look at I think the second volume in the Gundam Weapons Modeling Masters series of books from Hobby Japan. A couple of years ago I reviewed a book that was more geared towards master grades. This book is geared towards high grades, and you can see here what we're looking at. Three examples of the Zeta, a Z+, the Double Zeta Gundam, the Blue Destiny Unit 1, the Full Armor Unicorn, the Zaku 1 Origin Type Char Custom, and then the EXS Gundam. If you buy a lot of Hobby Japan magazines, you may be familiar with some of these kits because they are featured in their magazines as well. I'm going to just set the desk cover aside here just because we don't need it while we're looking at this book. And unlike some of the other books I've looked at, this one actually reads from left to right. Kind of like the first book in the series, the forward section of this kit is basically nothing but tools and materials that they use further on in the book. This has actually been really helpful for me because there are a lot of products that are sold on the Japanese market for modeling that I'm not aware of, either because they're not frequently sold in US-based stores or well, really that's it, or they're just not advertised on HLJ, so I can never find them. So yeah, I've actually found a lot of use just out of the tools section here, and as we go further into the book, you'll start seeing references to tools that they're using there, and then they'll reference back to here as to what it is. So clearly, the book is all in Japanese. You're going to need some sort of translating application if you do not read Japanese. I don't, for example. But a lot of the steps in this book, you can infer what they're trying to convey just by looking at the pictures. So, for example, here it's a discussion on, or an explanation of how to fix a part using like scrap material from the runners, just by essentially gluing it on and shaping it to the correct shape. And that's helpful. I've had to do stuff like this on kits before. I don't necessarily use the runner material, but it makes sense to use the runner material since it's already pre-colored. A lot of the early chapters in here on the Zeta Gundam were covered in maybe the June or July edition of Hobby Japan. They did a big expose on the high-grade Evolution series Zeta that came out last year. And I think a lot of that was conveyed in that book. It's still all helpful. This is kind of broken down section by section. Like this section's on modification, obviously. Adding or removing plastic from a part to, shrink or grow it. Here, we're talking about different ways of puttying and filling in gaps. Here's actually something on casting. So it's not just basic steps here, some of it's fairly advanced. Plot plating and filling in gaps. Part modification again. I think we're starting to get into masking here. And this is scribing, more scribing, and there are examples of kits in here that don't. There's no full explanation on this. You'll just see, here's a modification on a gun cannon that they did some stuff with. And then others you have, this is an example of, do you scribe something here or do you use plot plating to add detail? And this, I recognize this is right out of the Hobby Japan monthly magazine. We get into painting. Different painting techniques for different effects, why you should sand with high grit paper so you don't have ugly, gross looking parts like that, masking, using stickers properly, if that's your thing. And then we start getting into a kit by kit breakdown. This is where things start to get pretty interesting, just because you're seeing the full build on a kit versus, just individual tools or steps. We have a couple sections on the Zeta here, so I'm just going to kind of skip ahead. Some of these builds are very impressive, actually. And I typically use these books both for reference for my own builds. I'll probably be referencing this when I get to my Blue Destiny, but I also use them just as inspiration. You know, they do a lot of really interesting stuff with their kits that really kind of gets me psyched up to go tackle a kit that I may not necessarily be all that interested in. Like, for example, until I read this book, I really had no interest in the Zeta Plus. And after looking at the things that they did with this kit, it's really kind of got me hyped up to get one and do some stuff on my own. Similarly, I figured out my own way of fixing the seam lines on the arms of the Zaku Origin kits, and I was looking through here, and I don't remember where the step is specifically in the magazine, but they wound up fixing their seam lines the exact same way I wound up fixing mine, so that was kind of interesting to see. At least I'm on the same wavelength with someone. And then the final kit in this series is the Exs Gundam, and this is kind of a step-by-step process for how to update this really old kit and make it really cool. And when we get to the end here, you actually see it looks really nice. Bear in mind, like the Exs Gundam, like, yeah, there's a side-by-side. Bear in mind, like, this is a really old high-grade kit, so you need to put a lot of work into it to get it looking right, but, I mean, they did a damn fine job with that. So as you can tell, it's not a super long book. Here we are at the last page. It's 137 pages long. Pages are really thick material. It's like cardstock thickness. It's full color all the way through, as you can tell. Lots of photographs, good explanations, covering a pretty wide variety of topics. This is kind of like, if you're looking to get into reference books for Gundam, and maybe you've already bought some Hobby Japan magazines, you know what to expect with this. It's a good quality book. It's not going to break the bank. This book, for example, is 2,600 yen, so about 25 bucks without shipping from HLJ. As far as I'm aware, these are in constant reprint, so you can get one probably forever. But I really recommend picking this up. I've gotten a lot of use out of mine. I really like the master grade version I also have. They've been a great resource and a great inspiration. And yeah, check them out if that's something that interests you. Curious to know, have any of you guys purchased anything like this? What do you think about it? Do you get are you getting any use out of it, or do you think this is just kind of dumb and it wouldn't help you at all? Like always, you know, leave a comment below, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So take care of yourselves. Dan out.